Hello and welcome. In this session we're going to talk about the personal tax, and we'd like to see the changes from Financial Act 2021 to Financial Act 23. So we like to see some basic difference, and we want to see what is the new content and what is the area the personal tax has been added with this course. So on the right hand side you can see the personal tax. We have Financial Act 21, and the last exam we could do for that one was December 23, and from 29th of January 2024, from this year, they introduce Financial Act 23. So there is no Financial Act 22. So after Financial Act 21 it moved to Financial Act 23. Normally AAT changed the Financial Act every year, but sometimes they could take a break and they could do straight away with the most updated one. So let's have a look what is the basic difference. Let's open the content first for the Financial Act 21. So on the content page we can see we have taxable income, chapter number 1, and the taxable income. Then chapter number 2, calculation of the income tax, then employment income, property income, then we have a property income, national insurance, chargeable gain, share disposal, private resident relief, inheritance tax, and the tax and ethical framework. So we have exactly the same content. So the previous course was 10 chapter, and we still have 10 chapter with the Financial Act 23. So there is no new content on this new Financial Act 2023. Now let's have a look what is the basic difference. If we have a look the exam content, it says the exam will be computer based and the marking will be partially computer, partially human, and the exam duration was 2 hours. Now here is the difference. With the Financial Act 23 they have introduced a little bit different. So let's have a look. So with the Financial Act 23 we can see now the exam is 2.5 hours. So we used to have exam 2 hours, and now the exam is 2.5 hours. And that means the student will get half an hour more for the new Financial Act 2023. Rest of the topic we can still see is look like same. We can see understanding the principle will give us 10%, UK taxpayer total income 20%, then national insurance contribution 30%, capital gain tax 30%, and the inheritance tax 10%. From the content point of view, the syllabus area remains same, but we have now half an hour more compared to the last paper, compared to the last Financial Act we have on the last year. Now we like to see is there any difference with the task. So let's have a look. Before we had 10 tasks to do in the exam, so we have to answer 10 questions, so 10 tasks, and we can see here the breakdown of this task. So professional ethics 10 marks, employment income 14, investment and property 10, income tax 14, national insurance 6, tax planning 8, capital gain tax 10, disposal of share 8, capital gain tax relief 10, and inheritance tax 10. So this is the breakdown and the area we have to cover in order to achieve this mark. And also you can see we have a chapter, which chapter cover this mark, so you can easily find it out from the book. Now if we go to the new Financial Act, that is 23, and we can see here exactly we have the same 10 tasks. 10 tasks, and exactly have the same structure. So that means only the difference here is the student for the new Financial Act 23, they will get half an hour more compared to the Financial Act 21. Alright, now we're going to look at what is the changes on the table. So what is the rate is changes for the income tax and the rate for the dividend or any other allowance. Now, as we have seen, all the chapters are same, so only when you calculate the income tax, only that's the area we have to look at. For example, if you have done your last exam with the Financial Act 2021, then if you couldn't pass this paper and if you like to move to FA23, all you have to do, you have to look at the new rate for the income tax and the threshold and the bands, and rest of the topic like a capital gain tax, national insurance contribution, tax payable or capital gain tax, the content are still same. So mainly you have to focus on the rate. So let's have a look the rate table now. On the rate table, you can see on the Financial Act 21, that is 2021 and 22, for that year, the basic band was 37,700 and the tax was 20% and the dividend was 7.5% for the basic band. For the higher rate, it was 37,701 to 150. The higher rate was 40% and the higher rate for the dividend was 32.5%. On the additional rate, more than income 150,000, that was the additional rate tax, that was 45%, and the dividend was 38.1%. On the other hand, the new Financial Act 21, that shows a little bit different. So the basic rate remains same, 37,700, and the normal tax rate remains same, 20%, but the dividend rate is changed. Before, on the basic rate, the dividend was 7.5%, and with the new Financial Act, the basic rate is now 8.75%. That means if you have studied before FA21 and if you study with the new book FA23, and if you have all the information on your head, you still do the same way, but just change the rate. You need to make sure you multiply with the new rate when you calculate the tax. The next one we can see, before my higher rate was up to 150, but now they reduce it to 125,140. So from 37,701 to 125,140, and the rate remains same, 40%, but the dividend rate also increased from 32.5 to increase to 33.75%, and the additional rate also over 125,141 is 45%. The rate remains same, but the band is changed, and also the dividend rate increased to 39.35%. Remember, all this tax rate or the information also will be given on the exam. So that means you will have a reference material during your exam, and you will be able to view all this information during your exam time. But it is better to remember, because you will be in a exam pressure, and sometimes you don't want to spend a lot of time to read during your exam time. So better if you make yourself ready and try to remember as much as you can. But if you need to double check something, you can always click on the right hand side on your exam window and you can see the reference material. On the allowance, we can see here the personal allowance didn't change, it still remain 12,570, so still is same. Basic saving is 1,500, so allowance didn't change, but the dividend before it was 2,000. So that means before up to £2,000 you don't have to pay any dividend. So £2,000 was multiplied by 0%, but now it has only £1,000, and the income limit for the personal allowance before it was 100,000 and now it is 100,000. That means if anyone have income more than £100,000, for every £2 the personal allowance will be reduced by £1. So for example, if someone earned 110,000, that means 5,000 personal allowance will be wasted for that person. All right, the property allowance remains same, 1,000 and 1,000. Then we have individual savings, ISA, it is still same, 20,000, 20,000 for both Financial Act 21 and 23. Then rest of the criteria for the domicile still remains same, so there is nothing changed for that. And the residency status remains same. And we go for the car benefit, and we can see the car benefit we have here, 1 to 50, 130, more 1%. It was 1% if we have 130 or more, and now it is 2%. So they increase the car benefit. Before it was 4%, now it is 5% for 70 to 129 miles. So we need to be very careful for that one. Again, this information will be available on your exam. So normally always we divide by 5 and emission minus 55, and it's the same structure, we always do that. And we add 1% for the diesel car, and also we added if there is a registration date before 6 April 20, and also we need to add diesel car, we add additional 4%. So not 1%, 4%. So this one obviously still remains same. We need to still add 4%, will not apply diesel car which are registered after September 17 and meet RD2 standard. We have same thing, the additional 4% will not apply diesel car September 15. So this information is still same. Few thing, from 1% is increased to 2%, from 4% to 5%, from 7 to 8, from 11 to 12, from 13 to 14, from 14 to 15. That means basically increased by 1%. The fuel benefit, before it was 24,600, now it is 27,800. All right, the remaining thing remains same. So we have approved mileage allowance, 45 pence per mile. We have a 45 pence. So rest remains same. Then we have a van. For the van, we have a, before it was 3,500, now it is 3,960. Before it was 699. The fuel charge, now it is 757. Okay, so other benefit, let's have a look. It's look like same, 75 for the accommodation for the expensive one, and then £5 per night, £10 per night. It's look like same. Up to 10,000, 8,000 is the removal, and here we have a removal 8,000. So it's remained same. Let's look at the national insurance contribution table. So the national insurance, class 1 employee below 9568 was 0. Now the national insurance is exactly like a personal allowance, 12,570 is 0. Above this, it was 12, now it is 12. Additional 2%, it was 2%. The employer's class 1 NI, before it was 8840, now it is 9100. So that's a little bit good for the employer. Then more than that, 13.8 still remain 13.8. Employment allowance, before it was 4,000, now it is 5,000. Capital gain tax, annual exemption amount, before it was 12,300, now it is 6,000. That's really reduced a lot. That means if you have a capital gain before up to 12,300, you don't have to pay any capital gain tax, but now if it is more than 6,000, you have to pay the capital gain tax. Then we have a rate. The rate remains same, 10 and 20%. Let's look at our inheritance tax structure. So the nil rate band same, 325, and additional for the resident nil rate band 175 remains same. Death tax remains same 40%, lifetime 20% still remains same. The tapper relief remains same, and inheritance for the small exemption from the parents it was 5, grandparents 2500, 2500, 1000, 3000, annual exemption is remains same. Alright, so that's all actually we had the table, so we understand except the income tax threshold most of the thing remains same, little bit change with the car benefit and little bit change with our capital gain tax annual exemption, and regardless all the other thing I'll say the rate for the income tax is only the main thing you have to be focused on when you're going to do this exam. So you need to make sure this threshold has to be on your head, and you have to remember this one as a new rate for a new threshold. Allowance remains same, so you don't have to worry about at all. Allowance completely same. The personal allowance same. The savings allowance, the dividend allowance is changed. Before it was 2, now it is 1. So you need to do some practice. When you do some practice, you will be absolutely fine for that. Remember that more practice you do, you remember for long. Again, I like to say this information will be on the reference material. If you need to double check during your exam time, you can always do that. So this is the changes we have from Financial Act 21 to Financial Act 23. So all you have to do, you have to practice some income tax quotient more, and rest of the topic, if you have attempt before, you will do the same way, but the income tax rate has to be changed with the new Financial Act 2023. That's all you have to know for the changes from Financial Act 21 to 23. Thank you very much.